Aftershocks keep coming, if you can believe it or not. A magnitude 4.7 aftershock shook Haiti before dawn today, just hours after Haiti's president said the death toll from the January quake could now reach 300,000. And tonight, new fallout of another kind. The arrest of 10 American missionaries has made it harder than ever for even legitimate adoptions to go forward in Haiti. Those missionaries, as you know, were detained after they tried to take 33 Haitian kids out of the country without proper paperwork. 2 of them are still in custody. The group's leader and her assistant are in jail tonight. Their cases put authorities and ordinary citizens on the alert. And over the weekend, 3 Americans learned that the hard way. Here's Gary Tuckman.
6 tiny boys, now in custody of the Haitian government, only minutes before they were to get on a plane to start new lives in the United States. Haitian officials suspicious of these 3 women.
Is there any chance that the papers are not legitimate?
No.
Sarah Thacker is from Minnesota and was about to take this 2-year-old named Reese home as her son. But now serious allegations against her and against this woman who works in a Haitian orphanage and who has raised Reese most of his life. And this woman, a volunteer who came to Haiti to help. All 3 were going to escort Reese and the 5 other orphans to new families waiting for them in the U.S.
I can understand paranoia, absolutely, and I can understand that there was just a story where people were illegally taking children out of the country. However, I don't think that fear justifies actions.
Here's what we know. The 3 women showed up at the Port-au-Prince airport for a flight with the orphans to Florida. A large group of Haitian civilians surrounded the women and children.
And they started screaming at us that they're Haitian children and who do we think we are taking their kids from their country, and that these missionaries can't be stealing kids, and started swearing and yelling at us.
Are you a missionary?
No.
I was scared. It is my job to protect those children, and I did not feel like I could protect them on the street when we were being harassed.
Haitian police tell us they arrived and took the group to a police station. They spent hours in custody. A U.S. Embassy representative was with them to help. The police interviewed the women, who told them the Haitian Prime Minister signed the papers allowing the children to leave.
They came back and they said, we don't believe that this is the Prime Minister's signature.
Ultimately, they were told they would not be arrested, but the children would at least temporarily be taken away. And now here they are, at a different orphanage than the one where they had spent most of their lives. The women are allowed to visit.
Reese, smile for the camera.
This is Reese, the boy Sarah Thacker is adopting. But she did not visit because she believes it could confuse him when she'd have to leave him after visiting hours. As for the Prime Minister's signature, I called his cell phone to ask him about it.
Prime Minister Bellarive, this is Gary Tuckman from CNN.
I got his voicemail, and as of now have not heard back. The senior senator from Sarah Thacker's home state of Minnesota says this is an overreaction to the arrests of those 10 American missionaries.
They have filled out all the paperwork. This is a legitimate orphanage that has brought other children to America. And I feel like these little babies are just caught up in this international dispute, and it's just not fair.
If all went according to plan, these children would now be with their new parents in the United States. Instead, they stay in this tent. Their status in limbo.
So for now, these little boys will get cared for by people they just met. As government officials they've never met decide what happens to them.
Well, Gary, I mean, it seems like if the Prime Minister says this is his signature, if he calls you back or if he calls, you know, the people who are going to be making this decision back, that would be a way this gets resolved. Any last-minute developments at this point?
Well, that certainly seems like the easiest way to figure out what's going on here. What the 3 women tell us, I just talked to them minutes ago, they say that U.S. Embassy officials did meet with low-level Haitian officials, but there's no resolution. So the children are sleeping in the tent tonight. And you're right, when it comes to the Prime Minister, if he said, yes, I signed it, it's over. If he says, no, I didn't sign it, it's probably over too. But right now, it appears that the Prime Minister is laying low. No one's heard from him about this.
All right, Gary, we'll continue to follow. Appreciate the reporting, Gary. Thanks. Dr. Jane Aronson is an expert in international adoption. She's a pediatrician who specializes in adoption medicine. She's also the founder and CEO of Worldwide Adoptions. We talked when we were both recently in Haiti. She joins me again tonight. What do you make of a situation like this? I mean, it's understandable people would be paranoid given what happened with those other American missionaries.
Maybe it'll be difficult for me to, really summarize this, but I'm going to say simply this. And that is that I think what needs to happen at this point is the State Department, United States State Department, and the Haitian government have to get together and make a plan going forward. Because at this point, the problem is just what happened here. The individuals who take children out through adoption are not protected. This is what I see. And in fact, looking at it really helped me tremendously. I don't think international adoptions really should go this route any longer, where people come in and escort children out through private jets and so forth. I think at this point it needs to be normalized so that American Airlines is now back running commercial flights. Parents need to come back down and take their kids just as they did beforehand, before the earthquake. And we need to normalize the process so that the citizens of Haiti don't feel upset and angry. I think we owe it to everybody to normalize the process.
Former President Bill Clinton was saying that there's still a great need for adopting Haitian kids who are unquestionably orphaned, but that he's worried that people will be discouraged given what happened to the missionaries. I mean, is that a real concern?
No, I don't think people are going to be discouraged by what happened with the missionaries. I think that what I want to also say is that these kinds of experiences occur all over the world in international adoption. I've been doing international adoption medicine for 20 years, and I could give you a long list of the countries where things have gone awry. There have been irregularities, people not following the rules, investigations by both sides, whether it's the in-country government or the United States State Department. It's necessary to investigate things that may go the wrong way because you need to have a transparent process. So I don't see this as anything different, and I don't think it's going to discourage people from adopting. I do think we need to do some damage control. I think definitely the 10 people who took the 33 children did set a sort of a moment in the media where clearly everyone is questioning what their motivations were. I don't know if we'll ever understand all of that. I really don't. But I think the most important piece to look at is that they didn't follow the rules.
Right.
And what we need to do is just separate. There's rules to be followed, and they must be followed, and everything has to be transparent.
And at this point, are there new rules in place for new adoptions going forward, or is that still in limbo?
No, there were some extra rules that were sort of made to give the system a little bit of flexibility, and that occurred on January 18th. The State Department clearly set up a system where there was a parole involved, where kids could leave without a complete process, but with everything in line, just as we always have it. And I think that probably should continue just the way that was.
Right, all right. Jane Aronson, appreciate you being with us. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Always good to have you.